Hi dear students, welcome to the next video. Today we'll be talking about pleura and lungs. Pleura is a serous membrane that is lined by flattened epithelium and that's called mesothelium. Pleura is a double-layered membrane that is covering the lung. So to understand fully the pleura, we need to understand the development of the lung in relation with the pleura. So the lungs invaginates the pleura from the medial side. So this is an inflated balloon. You can see that the hand is pushed into the balloon and the hand represents the lung and the balloon represents the pleura. The balloon has two layers, the layer which is very close to the hand and the other one which is seen away from the hand. So this is the visceral layer of the pleura and this is the parietal layer of pleura. So when we push the hand that is representing the lung into the balloon which represents the pleura, we can see that slowly the hand goes inside and the distance between the visceral and the parietal pleura that becomes very minimal and they become very close with each other. At the same time, we can see that the parietal pleura that becomes visceral pleura when it reaches near the lungs, or you can see it is when it's reaching the hilum of the lung. So this area, the hand represents the lung bud and the forearm represents the root of the lung where the structures enter and leave the lung. So when it reaches the root of the lung, the parietal pleura becomes the visceral pleura. As you can see here, the lung bud is invaginating into the pleura, which is a single sac initially, a sac-like structure, where later we can see that the lung is invaginated completely and the parietal pleura, which you can see here, the yellow one, become brown, and the again you can see when it reaches the root, it becomes continuous as the visceral pleura. This brown line represents the visceral pleura, which is very close to the lung, and the visceral pleura covers the lungs very closely. And when it reaches the root, then it becomes the parietal pleura. Then again, when it reaches the root of the lung, it again becomes the visceral pleura. So thus the pleura has got two layers, and in between the parietal and the visceral pleura, there is a space called the pleural space, which is usually filled with pleural fluid. So again, the pleura can be seen, a magnified picture. In this area, we can see that the visceral pleura close to the lung surface and the parietal pleura, which is away from the lung surface. And this is lined by the mesothelium, the inner aspect of the pleura, that is this area, inner aspect. Here also, this area is lined by the mesothelium, which is secreting the fluid called pleural fluid. So the lung is invaginating the pleura from the medial side. It has a parietal pleura and the visceral pleura, and the space is called the pleural cavity. And the pleural cavity is filled by the serous pleural fluid, which lubricates and allows layers of pleura to slide smoothly over each other during respiration, because during respiration the lungs move, lungs expand and recoil, so it allows the free movement of the lung. The pulmonary pleura, which is the one which is going to cover the surfaces and the fissures of the lung. So pulmonary pleura is the same as that of same term for the visceral pleura. Visceral pleura is also called pulmonary pleura because it is related to the lung. So pulmonary is a term which is related to the lung. So this is the visceral pleura or the pulmonary pleura. It is very close to the lung surface and it is going to cover the fissures of the lung, because the lung is having some fissures, as you can see here, the transverse fissure and the oblique fissure. So the pulmonary pleura is very close to that and it is covering the fissures, excepting at the hilum, this area, hilum. Hilum is the gateway where the structures enter and leave the lung. So when it reaches the hilum, it is going to form a pulmonary ligament. So where at the same time, after forming the pulmonary ligament, you can see that it is going to continue with the parietal pleura. So the parietal pleura and the visceral pleura, it becomes continuous with each other at the root of the lung. As we have discussed here, the parietal pleura becomes the pulmonary pleura, or you can see the pulmonary pleura becomes the parietal pleura at the root of the lung. And here it also forms an extension here that's called pulmonary ligament. We'll talk about pulmonary ligament in the coming slides. And the pulmonary pleura is closely attached to the lung. It cannot be separated from the lung. Here also you can see that the pulmonary pleura, which is attached to the lung surface, and the parietal pleura can be seen here. Nerve supply of this pleura. It is innervated by autonomic nervous system, talking about the visceral pleura, and it is insensitive to pain. Blood supply is by bronchial arteries. Bronchial arteries are arteries which are supplying the bronchus. Meanwhile, it also supplies the pleura. And veins drains into bronchial veins. Lymphatic drainage is to bronchopulmonary lymph nodes, which are located in the bifurcation of the trachea. Parietal pleura is pleura, which is comparatively thicker than the pulmonary pleura, than the visceral pleura, and it's subdivided into parts. According to the place where it is located, it's been divided into four: costal pleura, diaphragmatic pleura, mediastinal, and cervical pleura. Costal pleura is seen near the ribs and the costal cartilage. Diaphragmatic pleura is the pleura which is seen near the diaphragm. Mediastinal pleura is seen on the mediastinal surface of the lung. Cervical pleura is seen in the apex of the lung. The costal pleura is the pleura which is a part of the, so we are talking about the parietal pleura, different parts of parietal pleura or different parts of parietal pleura according to the region can be seen here. So the costal pleura, as the name suggests, it is lining the thoracic wall, comprises ribs and the intercostal space to which it is loosely attached by a layer of areolar tissue called endothoracic fascia. So the costal pleura is related to the ribs and the costal cartilages. Between the ribs, costal cartilage and the parietal pleura, there is a connective tissue component that's called endothoracic fascia. So endothoracic fascia can be seen in this diagram. So lung, the visceral pleura, the space between visceral and the parietal pleura, that is the pleural space. Parietal pleura can be seen. Parietal pleura, between the parietal pleura, ribs, costal cartilage and the intercostal muscles, there is a fatty layer, or you can say it is not exactly fat, you can say it is connective tissue component, and that's called endothoracic fascia. So endothoracic fascia is a plane that separates the ribs, the intercostal muscles from the parietal pleura, and that's endothoracic fascia. It is thin extra pleural layer of loose connective tissue, forms a natural cleavage plane for the surgical separation of costal pleura from thoracic wall. So it is surgically important. This plane is surgically important for separating the costal pleura from the thoracic wall. Mediastinal pleura, as the name suggests, it is corresponding to the mediastinal surface of the lung, or it is corresponding to the mediastinum. Mediastinum is a space between the two lungs where the heart and the great vessels are located. It is reflected over the root of the lung and becomes continuous with pulmonary pleura. Mediastinal pleura is a part of parietal pleura that becomes the visceral pleura near the root of the lung. So this can be better explained with this diagram, as already explained here. This one, the mediastinal pleura, which is seen in the mediastinum, or it is near the mediastinum, that gets reflected at the root of the lung to becomes the visceral pleura or the pulmonary pleura. Cervical pleura is the pleura which is covering the upper aspect of the lung, and that's called the apex of the lung. Now it extends into the neck nearly 5 cm above the first costal cartilage. So first costal cartilage is here, so above 5 cm it extends, and 2.5 cm above the medial 1/3 of clavicle. So clavicle comes here and attaches to the sternum. So above the clavicle it extends around 2.5 cm and covering the apex of the lung. The cervical pleura is reinforced by a fibrous extension of the endothoracic fascia. Endothoracic fascia is seen over this region, and that's get modified in this region, and that forms a suprapleural membrane, and that's called Simpson's fascia. So Simpson's fascia or suprapleural membrane, which attaches to the internal border of first thoracic rib and the transverse process of C7 vertebra. So this is attachment of Simpson's fascia. Diaphragmatic pleura is a pleura that is seen on the upper surface of the diaphragm. It covers the superior surface of the diaphragm and base of the lung. So this is the base of the lung, and this is the apex of the lung. So it covers the base of the lung and becomes continuous with the mediastinal pleura medially. As we can see, it is going to form the mediastinal pleura medially, and laterally it is going to form the costal pleura. Costal pleura is here, that is related to the lung, related to the ribs and the costal cartilages, intercostal muscles. The pulmonary ligament, as I said before, pulmonary ligament is the extension of the parietal pleura that is surrounding the root of the lung, extends downwards beyond the root as a fold, and that's called pulmonary ligament. So pulmonary ligament is a part of parietal pleura that extends near the root of the lung downwards and forms a ligament-like structure called pulmonary ligament. And it contains a thin layer of areolar tissue with a few lymphatics in it. Now, what's the function? It provides dead space to the pulmonary veins during exercise. So these are the pulmonary veins which are related to the, or which are seen in the root of the lung, or which are forming the root of the lung. So during increased venous return as in exercise, the pulmonary veins get the space to extend. It can extend into the pulmonary ligament because pulmonary ligament has a potential space within it. Now, recesses of pleura. So before considering the recesses of pleura, we should know that the space between the pulmonary pleura and the parietal pleura, usually it is very minimal, but in some places we can see it is becoming larger, and that is called the recesses of pleura. So lungs, exactly speaking, lungs are not occupying in the pulmonary cavity. And there's a space between the lung and the pleura. So when I say the first sentence here, lungs do not occupy the pulmonary cavity, that means if you look at this diagram, you can understand here. Again, we are going back. Sorry for that. Here. So here, look at this here. This is a pulmonary cavity. So pulmonary cavity is represented by the balloon here. It is never occupied by the lung. Lungs are not within the pulmonary cavity. Pulmonary cavity is covering the lungs. That you can say, I'm sorry, the pleura is covering the lung, but the lungs are not going into the pleura. In fact, right? It is not going into the area between the parietal and the visceral pleura. It is still outside the pleura, right? Here you can see the parietal pleura, visceral pleura is covering the lung, forming the visceral pleura. You cannot say that the lung is not entering into the, or lung is entering into the pleura. Lung is never entering into the pleura. So it is still, lungs are outside the pleura, if you look at properly. That's what is meant here, the first sentence. Anyway. So there's a space between a lung and the pleura. There are two recesses of or folds which act as a reserve space for lungs to expand during deep inspiration. So the space between the parietal and the visceral pleura, there's a space, and that space is extended in some area that is near the costal and the diaphragmatic area, forming costodiaphragmatic recess. That you can see here, costodiaphragmatic recess space here, where you can see the parietal pleura extending downwards than the lung. Because the visceral pleura is near the lung or towards the lung, or it is very close to the lung, whereas the parietal pleura is extending downwards, even further down, right? And that space is costodiaphragmatic recess. Mediastinal recess is a space that you can see on the mediastinal surface of the lung. We'll discuss this in the coming slides. Costomediastinal recess. So it lies behind the sternum and the costal cartilage. It is between the costal pleura and the mediastinal pleura. So it is between the costal pleura. When the costal pleura becomes the mediastinal pleura, there's space that you can see here, this area. It is more pronounced on the left side. The recess is filled with anterior margin of lungs, even in quiet breathing. So it is usually filled by the anterior margin of the lung, even in the quiet breathing. Whereas the left recess, left costomediastinal recess, is potentially larger because of the cardiac notch on the left side. Cardiac notch is a notch-like structure that you can see on the left lung, okay, anterior border of the left lung. So because of the presence of cardiac notch, the costomediastinal recess on the left side is more pronounced. Costodiaphragmatic recess is a recess that is lying inferiorly between the costal and the diaphragmatic pleura. So this space, that is the costodiaphragmatic recess, it is extending from 8th to 10th rib in the mid-axillary line. Mid-axillary line is a line that is present, or that can be drawn, imaginary line, which can be drawn between or at the center of the axilla. So this is the extent of mid-axillary, it's extent of costodiaphragmatic recess. It is not the pleura, costodiaphragmatic recess. It's supposed to be costodiaphragmatic recess. So it's extending the mid-axillary line from 8th to 10th ribs.